Hey, I'm Julian. I'm an accredited exercise physiologist and I'm also an accredited good sort, double threat. Originally, I became interested in doing exercise science at uni. Exercise is just something I grew up playing sports, loved exercise, so it seemed like a pretty natural progression to study that at university. I got a little bit more serious about doing exercise physiology and wanting to help people with chronic illnesses and more of like a rehabilitation setting, just through different placements on university and just getting a bit of experience in different fields, from working with schools and sporting teams into more of that clinical setting. So after I did a kind of a placement that was experienced with that clinical setting, I knew that that was what I wanted to focus on. What do I love most about my job? My boss, Toby Atkins, if he's watching. The people, pretty much, primarily. I like having a laugh, I like having a good time. This is a job where I get to meet a lot of people and I get to help them move towards their goals through exercise, which is super cool and super powerful. So it's a very rewarding job to work and I enjoy pretty much all of it. My specialty area in exercise physiology, it's hard to say. I would probably say I like working with chronic pain patients, so people who have been dealing with a condition for over 6 months and it might be hard to nail down what the particular issue is that's causing the pain. So I like working with those style of cases. Favorite client experience? They're all special in their own ways, I guess. Just sitting back, looking at all the cases over the years. A couple really stand out. One of my favorites was this older gentleman who came in who had been dealing with a very significant cramping problem where very nightly he'd get very intense, super painful cramps that was really affecting his sleeping, and it was really impacting on his life just because he wasn't sleeping well. So next day he'd be really cranky and grumpy, and if you've ever experienced getting a cramp and waking up from that, it's a terrible experience. He'd been to a lot of other different specialists and he kind of tried all the really obvious ways to address the cramps, so stuff like magnesium and stretching and exercising and stuff like that. It was primarily in his calves, so we did a bit of a assessment and looked at his calf range of motion, also his calf strength, and if there was anything there. And we found that he had really immobile calves, so he was really limited in range. So he went away and I just looked at it from a functional perspective and said that we'll work on that and we'll see if that affects your walking pattern, also how your calves and how your ankle is moving throughout the day. So I gave him that program, he went away and he came back in 2 weeks, and I was actually a little bit nervous because I was hoping it would work, and I was thinking in theory that this all makes sense, but sometimes you just don't really know. So when he came back in, I nearly started apologising and asking him how he went, and then he was absolutely ecstatic because he hadn't had a cramp since he started doing the program, and he thought I was just a super genius, which was pretty cool. Lots. I just enjoy, I think the feeling afterwards, after you finish exercising and you feel good in your body and you feel good mentally as well. Exercise can be fun. There's so many different ways that you can exercise. It doesn't have to be specifically gym. It doesn't have to be specifically running. You can find lots of different ways just to move your body and to enjoy doing it, and I think everyone should be doing it. My exercise background? Comprehensive. No, I started playing sports mainly as a kid. And then from there just looked to get into exercise to kind of maximize what I was doing from a sporting perspective, and then just found that I really enjoyed doing strength work just as its own thing anyway. So even after I started playing sports more in a social sense and less in a competitive sense, I still kept exercising too, and I found it helpful just across my hobbies too, so stuff like going out and surfing or going for a swim at the beach, or going hiking or rock climbing or anything like that. It made me feel more confident in what I was doing and a bit more knowledge, I guess, about my body and how it moved and what I could do strength-wise. Favorite workout? I'm super lazy, So it's just heavy bench press, sets of 3 reps or less, and maybe 3 to 5 sets of that, and that's it. Favourite sport, I'm a big bogan, it's rugby league. Go the Canterbury Bulldogs. Thank you. My exercise background? Comprehensive. No, I started playing sports mainly as a kid. And then from there just looked to get into exercise to kind of maximize what I was doing from a sporting perspective, and then just found that I really enjoyed doing strength work just as its own thing anyway. So even after I started playing sports more in a social sense and less in a competitive sense, I still kept exercising too, and I found it helpful just to... How do I stay motivated? I think the first step is really... Just lost motivation to answer that question. No, the first step actually is identifying what motivates you. So for me, I like being with people. So going to group classes is a great one. So I think a lot of people as well out there are similar. Finding group classes, you might find that a particular setting, you might be an outdoorsy person, so getting your exercise in outdoors, going for hikes, doing non-traditional stuff, going, rock climbing or something like that might be the way that you get your exercise in. If you're a competitive person, you might prefer, going and playing social sport, or you might prefer learning a discipline like a jiu-jitsu or something. How do I keep my clients motivated? Usually it's just through, I think, trying to establish open and honest communication with the person and being that base of support with them. So if you establish that kind of relationship, the person isn't going to feel, ashamed if they've, fallen off the wagon or they're not exercising as much as they, should have been or want to.